Greetings and welcome. In our last video, I read this book, How I Learned Geography by Uri Shulevitz. Great book, wonderful illustrations, wonderful story. But there's more to the story. It's actually the author's own story. And if we go to the back, we can see that author's own story, including a photograph of him, as is also displayed on the back of the book. Let's check this out. This is the best reason for reading this book. Author's note. I was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1935. The Warsaw Blitz occurred in 1939 when I was 4 years old. I remember streets caving in, buildings burning or crumbling to dust, and a bomb falling into the stairwell of our apartment building. Shortly thereafter, I fled Poland with my family, and for 6 years we lived in the Soviet Union, most of the time in Central Asia, in the city of Turkestan, in what is now Kazakhstan. We eventually arrived in Paris, France in 1947. And then moved to Israel in 1949. I came to the United States in 1959. The story in this book takes place when I was 4 or 5 years old in the early years of our stay in Turkestan. The original map was lost long ago, so I created the maps here based on my memory of that first one using collage, pen and ink, and watercolor. So here's this picture. This is me in Turkestan at age 7 or 8. It is my only surviving photo at that age. I know it was taken in the winter because I'm wearing a quilted cotton jacket, which almost everyone wore during the cold months. I drew this map of Africa at age 10 on the back of a letter. I was lucky that the letter was written on one side only because paper was a luxury and most letters were covered with writing on both sides. The map is in Russian, which I used to speak fluently, but now I can only remember a few words. And look at this drawing right here. When I was 13, we were living in Paris, and I drew this picture of the central marketplace in Turkestan from memory. In Paris, I became an avid reader of comic books, hence the cartoony style of this picture. The signs on the buildings are in Russian and mean barber and tea house, respectively. In those days, I was a student in the French elementary school, and the lucky winner of a drawing competition held among all the elementary schools in our district. It was my first artistic success. And let me show you what it looks like in the middle of the book here, where there's a great drawing of the central marketplace, as you can see right here. Isn't that magnificent? So this story of How I Learned Geography, where his father buys a map instead of bread one evening, his mom and the author is actually mad at the dad for not buying bread that day, but it turns out it's a wonderful story because this kid, now author, famous award-winning author, goes on to write, to author books, to love geography. And it's all because of that map when he was a kid that took him away to far enchanted places and kind of took him out of his really sobering, miserable, poverty-stricken childhood. So, How I Learned Geography, Uri Shulevitz, I highly recommend it. Check it out from the library or buy it for your own collection. Thanks.